The person who's going through the development is probably making them feel really shitty about the fact that they're not and using that against them. And so it's like, oh God. So like, it's all defenses all the time. Everybody feels judged and unloved.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wow, how do you, and here's what you would actually have to do. Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Relationship Theory. I'm your co-host, Tom Bilyeu, and I am here with my beautiful wife, who I had a very lovely weekend and especially evening with last night. Lisa Bilyeu, what is up?
Hello, baby.
How we doing?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Okay, so this question comes from Facebook from Justin Damien Furness. What if one partner is always doing self-development and making an effort to communicate and the other person is just not interested and always critiquing the other after 15 years of marriage? What strategies can be put in place?
Talk about a curveball. Is this our most frequently asked question? It's got to be.
Yeah.
One of us is into development and the other is not.
Yeah.
And what do you do? Now, normally this is, go ahead.
Just because I get it, like, it would be tough. Like, it takes so much time, energy, and focus to work on yourself and to work on bettering yourself. And it can be all consuming, right? Because it's every thought you have, it's every action you take. Like, you have to really work on changing it. And when you put that much time and effort and the person you love so much, that you've been together, you've got so many memories with so much history and you love them. But as you start growing, things start to fork in the road. Like, that is tough. So I really do get why people struggle with it, because what do? Like, you don't want to give up your growth. So what do you do, Mr. Bilyeu?
Yeah, it's so at the beginning of the relationship, it's very, very easy. And
Right.
I would now, given where I'm at in my own development cycle, I would not be in a relationship with somebody that doesn't have a growth mindset, or at least
Already.
Yes, correct. Or doesn't at least say, I want a growth mindset and I'm willing to do what it takes to get there. Because now what you're looking for is leverage, right? It's the same thing in the 15-year relationship, but you need that leverage. And if you don't have a point of leverage, like, this is going to end really badly. And now here, the reason that it's so dangerous in a 15-year relationship is this concept you and I have that we call the dust has begun to settle, right? So in any issue between you and I, we always make sure we get to the root issue. We clear all the dust so that you're not holding on to something, that you're not bringing something up from 2 or 3 years ago, or God forbid, 15 years ago, that you didn't fully let go. And letting go of stuff, really letting it go, is it's like the relationship superpower. If you can't let something go, that dust begins to settle. So they've got 15 years, just knowing what I know about people, there's dust in the relationship for sure.
15 years
now
for sure.
you have you don't have leverage. B, the person, at least as they wrote it, is essentially heckling them, to use my words, on that
And
they're
this is always
going through this.
critiquing, not interested.
Right? So, and the reason I use the word heckle is critique sounds highfalutin and reasonable. Heckling is what a dickhead does. So once you get, you know me, I love binary. It's good, it's bad, love, hate, and I don't live there. It's just, you have to put things into one camp or the other to get clarity. So heckling, it is bad behavior because it is not effective. It puts the other person's defenses up. So when you've got both sides with their defenses up, and by the way, the other person is criticizing because I'm sure they have felt heckled. And so it's like both people have their guards up. The person who's going through the development is probably making them feel really shitty about the fact that they're not and using that against them. And so it's like, oh God. So it's all defenses all the time. Everybody feels judged and unloved.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wow, how do you, and here's what you would actually have to do. I would say, let's say I'm the development one. I'd be like, I bet I make this person feel horrific. And the reason that they're criticizing me is because I've made them feel some kind of way. And that some kind of way is not great. And so
ownership.
I'm going to take ownership 100%.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say, look, I have the chills. I really want to have the primary goal of this relationship to be to make you feel better about yourself when you're with me than when you're not. Period. And I'm just
Can you just say that again? Because that to me is one of the most powerful things in a relationship.
to me, it is literally the barometer by which you should judge the health of your relationship. Does the other person feel better about themselves when they're around you than they do when they're not? So, and the reason that I say that is I wouldn't be in a relationship with all of its compromises and all of that if that weren't true. Like, that seems like the only payoff that's worthwhile.
That you feel better about yourself when you're around me.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like, why else would I do this?
Right.
So, but really, like, I actually don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, when I look at people that are in emotionally abusive relationships or just toxic, right? It's just toxic. You're not having a good time. I don't understand why you would give up all the things you have to give up if that person doesn't make you feel better about yourself, by the way. Entirely selfish, but you do. And so for me, it is like, it's such a no-brainer to sacrifice whatever I need to sacrifice for the health of this relationship because it makes me feel better about myself. And I just love it. Like, intrinsically, no one has to convince me or anything. So anyway, we're going to agree that that is the main goal. If we can't agree on that, there's just so much danger, like immediately seek therapy or break up. But assuming that we can agree on that, then it's like, all right, let's lower our defenses. Let's really hear each other and figure out, like, where
did it start?
Right. Where did that real unraveling begin? Get back to that. Like, in this case, it sounds like, where did I begin to make you feel judged? Like, and oh God, going back to what you were saying earlier about, like, this stuff is predictable. So I would go into the conversation, 1, ownership, 2, predicting, like, that I have made this person feel bad. Like, it's so predictable. So growth mindset tends to lead to being an evangelist. And so you want, like, you've gone through something amazing. You want other people to go through it, but they're going to feel judged because essentially what you're saying is, I found something amazing. The way I am is awesome. The way you are sucks.
You're not good enough and you haven't figured it out. And
correct.
Yeah.
And if you really have a growth mindset, you know that the other person probably has a fixed mindset.
Yeah.
If you have a growth mindset, you're not judging them for that.
Yeah.
And if they have a fixed mindset, you know that they feel judged. So it's like,
so true.
But this is all predictable going into it. So I'm going to ownership, predictability, and say, I'm going to guess that somewhere along this path, I've made you feel judged.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine anything less likely to make you feel better about yourself when you're around me than when you're not, than you thinking I'm judging you. And so I just want to drop all that. Like, I want you to know I love you right now today, exactly who you are. And I want to know, like, what you want to, like, what would I need to do for you to really feel truly loved? And by the way, if you have a growth mindset and you're committed, keep in mind, I started this whole thing by saying I wouldn't be in a relationship with somebody that doesn't have a growth mindset. But if you're in a relationship with somebody that doesn't have a growth mindset, you do, and you're committed to the relationship, you need to understand this is a multi-year endeavor to like truly help them find the joy in having a growth mindset and not feel judged all along the way. So it's going to involve a lot of listening, making sure that you really understand where they're at, and then just them seeing that it's actually taking you to a better place. And by the way,
why that's good for them.
Definitely.
Right? Because let's face it, as humans, I think we can't help but think about, like, how is this good for me and how does this benefit me? And so if their growth mindset is actually improving that their partner's lives, then I think that could be encouraging. Like, all this, like, this one thing that you used to, like, always get upset over, or one thing that I always did that, like, really annoyed you, or you felt, neglected. Look, I'm changing. Like, the knock-on effect is now you're benefited from it as well.
No question. And if you really are trying to get better and own that, like showing up to every discussion, argument, whatever, with like looking for ways to take ownership of that, it's not going to, in the first 6 months, you're just going to feel like you're getting the shit kicked out of you because the other person will take advantage of that. And so predictability. So know that if they have a fixed mindset, they're looking to be right, to feel smart, all of that, because they believe that their talent and intelligence are fixed traits. And so life is just about maximizing your emotional response to whatever hand you were dealt. So you know that that's how the person is going to respond. So just know that this is going to take a very long time, and that in the beginning, they're just going to take advantage of it. But you have to believe that over time, you'll actually get better. So you really will be improving emotionally, your ability to listen, all of that is going to be improving. And they'll begin to thaw and realize, wow, they're not judging me. They're actually looking at themselves. If anything, they're judging themselves and trying to get better and improve over time. They're not trying to convince me. This is my big thing. I was always trying to convince you you were wrong so that I didn't have to feel badly, because I hated that feeling so much that if I could just convince you to see things my way, then I wouldn't have to feel bad about making you feel bad.
Feel bad, yeah.
And so once you let go of that and like really take the ownership of, whoa, I made her feel badly about herself and that was not my intention. All right, I could keep going on this one, but I'm going to stop.
Yeah. All very powerful takeaway messages.
Nice.
Yeah. I had a million things to add, but you kind of covered everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
My
Oh, and
apologies.
just and empathize. I think put yourself in their shoes. One thing that people talk about a lot and that I've heard a lot is like, let's say when one person starts going on a diet, right? Or starts like working on their physique, like, okay, you know, I really want to change. I want to change the way I eat. I want to go to the gym more. And then the partner doesn't join in, right? That friction that then starts of one person really trying to improve and the other person kind of staying where they are, I think ends up causing a problem, because the other person starts feeling like, oh, you don't love me now, like I'm not good enough for you just because now you've got this new hobby or whatever. They'll try and write it off. So I think if you can be empathetic to the other person and understand what they're going through, why they're reacting like that, because if they're criticizing, why are they criticizing? You just said it earlier, is that they're trying to do it to protect themselves. And so I think that, you know, because then they have to look upon themselves and say, well, I'm not good enough, instead of saying, wow, this is something I can improve on, which are two very different mindsets. So if you can understand why at least they're acting like that, I think that that helps when you do start talking about it.